Some of us know everything about diet. Some of us don't know a damn thing about what's happening here and now. You got to raise your political IQ. Okay? Why was the HIV/AIDS virus created? By the Rockefeller Foundation, approved by former President Jimmy Carter, to reduce the world of African people by 50% by the year 2000 as part of the Global 2000 program. That's where AIDS comes from. It's the number one killer of black women on the face of the earth from 38 to 58. Is it a coincidence that the first documented cases was 1972? The same time that world population control was a big issue on the United States Senate floor? Is that a coincidence that they deregulated homosexuality out of DSM the same year that they found AIDS cases? Is all this related, or is it a coincidence? It's related. But if you have no political IQ, it'll go right over your head. Stupid people can always be exploited for people's personal gains. You got to read up, not just your history books, read the newspaper every day. Yeah, there's lies in it. But if you read enough of them, you'll be able to connect the truth. And that's why when I build my schools for our children, they're going to be taught political science. They're going to be taught it. They'll be able to tell you why Obama was made president. They'll be able to tell you why the director of the FBI and CIA are not chosen by President Obama. And that their budgets do not have to be approved by Congress because those are secret societies. They are the police of the international bankers who represent the think tanks of white supremacy. You got to teach your children this. That George Washington and the 13 colonies did not win the Revolutionary War against Britain. It was nothing but a Machiavellian truce. George Washington being an agent of the crown. America is still a colony of Britain to this day. Our children need to know all of this stuff. That Jesse Jackson works for the Council of Foreign Relations showed us Al Sharpton. And that the Council of Foreign Relations was started in 1921 to help destroy Marcus Garvey's influence in Africa. They need to know this. That W.E.B. Du Bois, as great as he was a co-founder of the Boule in Philadelphia while he was working at the University of Pennsylvania. And he said out of his own mouth that the Boule, the black male secret society, was started to keep the educated black man away from Marcus Garvey. They need to know this. You just want to give them a book on King Tut. That ain't going to get us nowhere.
Come on, say that.
Do black parents love their children? Many black parents love their children, but many don't. Black parents show through their behavior that they really don't love their children. In other words, they don't love their children enough to care. For you to care for your parents or children, you have to love enough to care. Many black parents simply have a basic low-grade love, but don't love their kids enough to care. You can't tell me you love your children, and they ain't got a set bedtime at night. You can't tell me you love your children, but you don't check their homework. You can't tell me you love your children, and you never stop up at the school to see how they doing. You don't go pick up the report cards. You put them in special ed and don't even see what the hell special ed is doing to them. You put them on psychiatric medication when you know the causes of the behavior are due to you, not no drug and no disorder. Who we lying to? We have our babies, first thing we do is put them on machine milk and throw them to the babysitter and claim that we love them. White female teachers and black boys. Now this is always a hot topic, right? Because black people are not supposed to be aware of white racism in America. You're not supposed to know it exists. So whenever you bring up racism, people automatically get uncomfortable. But you have to, because every problem that black people suffer from, they suffer it as a result of racism. I don't care what problem it is. Racism is at the core. 93% of America's teachers are white women. Does every white woman want to miseducate black boys? I don't think so. I know some excellent white teachers. I know some that were better than the black ones. I'm being honest. But I also understand that most women of other races don't have the type of compassion that our boys need in order for them to be properly educated. I speak from experience. I don't need to see any research studies because I work in the world of special ed. So I don't need anybody else's experience to corroborate my own. And I know that the miseducation of our boys is at least in part due to the fact that they're not being taught by their own. Isn't it funny that black people in America invented 75% of everything white people use?
Say that.
We invented 75% of everything America uses, and we invented it before school desegregation. Ain't that deep? You came up with the internet, you invented the cell phone, the helicopter, refrigerated truck, you separated plasma from blood so people could get blood transfusions,
Right.
birth control, contraceptive, missiles. All this stuff came out of your mind before you was ever taught by a white female teacher. What the hell have we invented since school desegregation? Rap music and perm. Look at how the minds of our children have been dumbed down since school desegregation. I would argue that school desegregation was not a benefit to our children. Special education was the reaction to school desegregation. You want to know why we have special ed? The only reason why you have a special education in America, only reason why you have a special education in America, is to give white racist school districts the right to resegregate black kids from white ones. That's why special ed was created. What year? 1975. What was going on in 1975? School busing. School busing. White parents was out throwing bottles and bricks at buses with little black kids coming in from the ghetto.
That's right. That's right.
And the United States government said, we got to do something about this. We fighting a war, and other countries telling other people how to live, and look how we letting adults treat black kids. So somebody came up with the bright idea, why don't you let them keep them separate? But instead of saying they're doing it because they're black, they're going to say they're doing it because they got a disability. And that's where the learning disability came from. The learning disability was a compromise, y'all. Our kids don't need no special education. The damn education is special enough, ain't it? So again, I'm not demonizing white teachers. I'm simply saying that if most white children in America are taught by white people, shouldn't most black kids have the same right? The average white kid has never been taught by a black teacher. And never will. So if it's okay for them to be taught by their own, why can't ours be taught by their own? And you know what people tell me? Superintendents tell me? The reason why we ain't got no black teachers, black male, and black male school psychologists, and black male principals, and black male social workers, and school nurses, and school counselors is because black men don't want to get into education. That might be true to some extent. But I also know that there's a lot of unemployed black men in this country with bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. And if they could be given an opportunity to get an emergency certification to teach their own children and earn a living, they would do it in a heartbeat. You mean to tell me all the suburban people you bringing into the ghetto to teach our kids with emergency certifications love our kids more than we do? So they drive it in an hour from the suburbs because they love black children? Hell no. It's because you're giving them jobs.
Right, right.
You can give them same jobs to us. But when you talk about giving black men teaching positions, you got to take them away from middle-class white women, and that's the issue.
Ooh, say that.
That's the issue.
Say that.
We don't want to lay our women off to hire your men and teach your boys, even though our women cannot teach your boys. Medical neglect. This is why I tell y'all to be careful about putting your children on drugs and be careful about getting them tested. Because once I label your child and say he's ADHD, once I say he got an emotional disturbance, I have just created the groundwork for what? For Child Protective Services to force you to medicate that child. People call me every day. Should I get my son tested for ADHD? Should I get my son tested for conduct disorder? Should I get my son tested for oppositional defiance? Do you believe in crack for kids? Because if you don't believe in drugging children, why in the hell would you get them labeled in the first place? Is this making sense to y'all? Yes. Stay away from the label unless you want the medication. Because if you tell those people that you're not giving your son drugs, even though he got a label, you know what they're going to do? They're going to write you up, come to your house, and say, listen, your son got a medical problem, ADHD. and a psychiatrist wrote a prescription for some Strattera, and you are refusing to medicate, if you don't start medicating, we're going to take your son out of your house. Not only are we going to take him, we're going to take all the children. The number one reason for removal of black children in 2012 has been black parents who have failed to medicate their children. Stay away from ADHD. Stay away from conduct disorder. Stay away from special ed unless you're certain your child got a problem. If your kid is blind, they need special ed. They're blind. They need visual support. If your child is deaf, they special ed. They need hearing support. They can't hear. Your child got a speech and language impairment. They stuttering all over the place. They need speech therapy. That's legitimate. Your child is autistic. They need autistic support. Those are real special ed disorders. But the learning disability, ADHD, emotional disturbance, mild mental retardation, those four are man-made hustles. You cannot prove a learning disability. And anybody who think they can, prove it to me. I test children for a living. You cannot prove a learning disability. A learning disability is nothing more than a professional opinion that the evaluator made about your child's ability. There's no test to tell you if your child is learning disabled. If it is, show it to me. I have standardized the WIS score. I was a part of the team that made that IQ test what it is. I was a part of the team that standardized the Wyatt too. I know what I'm talking about. You say you can prove your child is learning disability? Then show me. You can prove there's a test that shows the child can't learn? Prove it. I got $1 million for you. And I ain't got $1 million because I know you ain't gonna get it, okay? Why do black parents like disorders? You like them just like the school like them because it gives you an excuse not to be a damn parent. That's right. I know I make some of y'all mad. I don't care. Because I care about your children more. The reason you got them on them damn drugs is because you're too lazy to teach them how to act without them. In my book, I got a whole chapter on how to change behavior without medication. It's no secret. We've been changing behavior for years. But that's before Ritalin was invented. That's before Strattera. That's before Concerta. That's before Cycler. That's before Wall Street got in bed with the psychiatric and psychological institutions. Now let's talk about domestic violence. Parents have to stop fighting in front of their children. When y'all have an issue with your children, with each other, you never argue in front of those kids. You take it somewhere else. Too many of us are carrying on our domestic issues in front of our children. Mothers are telling sons that your father got another girlfriend. Son don't supposed to know that. Fathers is telling daughter, your mommy cheating on me. That's not information for a child to hear or know about. Okay? Very important. If you're going to get a divorce, what are you supposed to do before you get a divorce? You're supposed to sit your children down and say, look, your mommy and daddy, I'm going to be moving out the house, okay, because we're not getting along right now. Sometimes adults go through problems. I still love your mom, but we're not sure if this is going to be able to work into the future. Don't give your kids false hope. Don't tell them y'all might get back together if y'all not. Don't lie. Just tell them this might be the end for us, but we still love y'all. And we still going to work together for y'all best interest. We may not live together, but I'm going to be at your basketball games. I'm going to be at your graduation. We won't be in the same house, but your mother and I will continue to work together for your best interest. Do y'all have any questions for us? Anything at all you want to ask mommy and daddy? Black folk, we don't do that. You know how we found out mommy and daddy split up? You come home one day.